Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to tell kids how to avoid toxic fandoms.
No, we're not.
The managing editor of Nerdist is going to tell kids how to avoid toxic fandoms.
And by toxic fandoms, you can guess what they decide toxic is.
Probably. Probably. Well, we'll try to give them a benefit of the doubt, but this is interesting that they actually have a kids how-to guide, how to avoid toxic fandoms.
Well, on the bottom is telling you how to write fan fiction. You can guess which way this is going.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to buy this book just to bring it on the channel and read it.
You know, it might be good.
Because, I'm 100%. Let me start by saying, I'm 100% for, the idea that things have gotten too toxic and we need to dial that back. 100%. However, I am very, 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 very tired of what's considered toxicity is always one-sided. And meanwhile, what they bring up in this as examples, and they're trying to paint it as one side, is actually the behavior we're seeing out of the side they're representing. They themselves are. Yeah,
there are toxic elements to every fandom. Okay, I mean, we've learned this over the years. There are also a lot of good people in fandoms, well-meaning people in fandoms. And what happens though is the crazies a lot of times will paint the entire fandom in a negative light. And I can tell you just from our own personal experience, we're gonna go there. The only time we've ever gotten any major pushback on the channel, any crazy threats or anything, is when we talked about cartoons.
Mostly, yes, or Raylos.
Raylos, yeah. There are certain fandoms that are a little bit crazier than others. And some people, I mean, I don't even know if they're honestly fans of that particular thing, or they're just obsessed with it, or they're just using it because they're just crazy.
Well, let me start off. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you about how to avoid toxic fandoms or whatever is to understand that people are allowed to like things and not like things within the fandom, and that's okay.
That's true.
They're talking about fan purity tests, and I'm like, I've never seen a fan purity test until recently.
Yeah, I think the thought process behind this, and I've seen this a lot online, is we have to gatekeep to make sure that we know that these people are here because they actually like this property and they're not just coming in as parasites to take it over and change it and change everything.
But the way they always present it is that they're there to make it the right kind of people. And how dare you? We're going to kick out all the people that were here before. And that's the big trap.
Yeah.
And I think this book, what I'm concerned about, is going to be a trap.
It's a trap.
It is most likely a trap.
All right, so we're going to talk about that, the toxic fandoms and making sure that kids avoid them. Before we get into it, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 188,000 subs. Thank you for the support. And I'm guessing, not to throw shade at Nerdist, but I'm guessing she has to write books now because Nerdist is laying people off because nobody is going to Nerdist anymore.
I don't know.
Just my opinion, because Nerdist is Nerdist. Nerdist is a corporate product now. It doesn't really speak for the fandom anymore. It hasn't for a very long time.
No, it hasn't.
So this book, I just found this press release. They were talking about it's coming from NPR. They're talking about the book, A Kid's Guide to Fandom. And
I love this. This is my favorite part.
Well, this is actually, this isn't the author of the book. This is
someone talking about the book.
Yeah, Lopez. This is
Kristen
Lopez.
By the comments about this, I think the book's exactly what we think.
Yeah, so there are people that love to troll and that love to stir the pot, but then there's also the people that feel very defensive about the fandom communities they love and feel that any criticism is a criticism of them. Yeah,
let's talk about that for a minute. When you say you don't like something like Star Wars, the new Disney Star Wars, it's never because of what your reason is. Never because you didn't like that scene or you thought something was poorly written or they assassinated the character Luke Skywalker. It's never about what you actually are mad about. It's always about how you are personally offending them and what they like. So you're attacking them, even though they have absolutely nothing to do with why you don't like something. So their answer is to call you names, belittle you, mock you, bully you, those kind of things. I think that's what I would consider as toxic behavior.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this because you look at what is considered a toxic fandom according to the media. And they do seem to zero in on, the Snyder Cut fans are the new target now. We had Alita fans.
Before that was Star Wars fans, old school Star Wars fans.
Before that was hey, that looks familiar.
Yeah, there was me. It's a bad picture of me, but yes, that's me.
A good picture of you.
No, it isn't. I'm growling at my bag, which I often do. You should see the looks I get at the grocery store.
You're going to eat that Yeti.
That's right. Well,
it's a Wampa.
It's a Wampa.
I'm not a real fan. I didn't even know it was a Wampa.
I get weird looks when I do that at the store. Anyway, continue.
I'm not a real fan. I shouldn't be allowed to buy any stuff.
I'm so tired of this whole idea that you have to be a real fan to like something too. And then you have to pass some kind of purity test to do so. I don't agree with that. But I always say you're allowed to like something, you're allowed to not like something. I don't think it's worth, saying you're not a fan or you're not a fan over, unless you're trying to tell everybody else what they have to enjoy and how they have to enjoy it. Then that's just gatekeeping bullshit.
Yeah, I think, fandoms have always been, this is the story keeps changing. For the longest time, fandoms, were very welcoming, very open to new members, quote unquote. That would be, true of gaming, as it was of comic books, as it was of, movies like Star Wars. And then what happened was people became very cynical because we had a lot of people that came in that, like you said, they wanted to come in and change everything and then start demonizing the longtime fans who didn't like the changes.
Well, it was like, you're always like, welcome to the group, come on in, join the group. But then it became, welcome to the group. And then they come in and they're like, well, we're changing, but I want to be part of this. I'm changing everything about it.
Yeah, we saw this, particularly in tabletop gaming.
I was thinking tabletop.
Yeah, tabletop was one of the biggest ones where people came in and they wanted to basically act. They wanted to live out their OCs. And there were actually a lot of rule changes and all the stuff that happened. And you weren't allowed to say, hey, look, these games have rules. Or you were being, look, we're at a point right now where D&D is changing the language in its books because orcs are considered racist now. It's gotten kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm just tired of this whole idea that I want to be part of your group, but it's not about that. It's about coming in and changing everything to be the way you want it and gatekeeping everybody else out of it. And that's the problem that we're seeing because I'm tired of hearing the girls were not Star Wars fans. That's not true. That is not true. And I can't tell you, the last several years is when I saw all this go down that, you are not allowed to not like something, first of all. If they like it and you don't, it's not because you might have different tastes. It's because you're a horrible person. And in their mind, it's not because you disagree or something, maybe they're wrong. It's because everybody else is always wrong and they're always right. And then they try to tell everybody what they can and can't like. And they bully and they marginalize and they do everything that they claim you do to them. They do in a lot. And then you get these activist types that are coming in there to turn it into their activism are the same type of people that have themselves cushy platform jobs on a platform like Nerdist. So they're taking their activism and their bullshit, fandom stuff, toxic fandom stuff to the media to try to control the narrative all around so that they're the good guys and everybody else is the bad guys. And, how dare you be hateful as they be hateful.
Oh, I was going to bring that up. Where the change actually happened, I would say Nerdist was a catalyst in that. When pop culture became cool, when the superhero movies started doing well, when we have a cabal of Hollywood geeks when they made pop culture cool and they made geeking out cool. Because it used to be that we were all
You're made fun of.
You played
Dungeons and Dragons. You said the one kid on the football team would hide that he played it because he didn't want to get made fun of.
Yeah, he actually would. I think he played soccer. I don't remember. Anyway, he would come to the house that we were playing the game, and he wasn't broadcasting that he was playing because he was like, it's really lame, and everybody's gonna make fun of me for playing D&D. When I was in high school, I was big into comic books, and everybody knew I wanted to draw comics or whatever, but I really didn't, broadcast my comic book collection or action figure collecting or anything like that because it wasn't cool.
Well, a lot of you guys out there who watch the channel, guys and gals, you probably understand or remember a time when you were made fun of for what you like because it wasn't considered cool. And then it became fashionable. And then when it became fashionable, all these people wanted to jump in it for clout, but they wanted to change it. And that's where we came at now. And then we're turning into another era where they're just rebooting the hell out of everything. Because they had fan bases that were established for years, they make all kinds of changes to it to appease these new people coming in, who then turn around and, demonize it. Like Sheer, for example. it could have been done in a way, this is the new She-Ra, that's the old She-Ra, two different things, you know. There could have been a way that bridges were built, and, you know, and I think the majority of the reason people had problems with it was because you weren't allowed to like nothing. You weren't allowed to not like parts of it. Even if it was a costume thing and shorts, that was enough to get you labeled, to get you harassed. The media came in. Even the voice actress Melanie Britt brought this up. The media came in. The whole purpose was to target anybody, any dissent, to mock and be toxic assholes to, while saying that everybody else was toxic. The whole purpose of it was to crap on old fans who didn't, you know, toe the line with the new show. When they could have just been like, well, this is for this new audience, that's for that new audience, let's find some common ground. Maybe we can meet in the middle, and then we could have built bridges instead of, you know, burned everything down. But that would be too easy, because that's the new mentality with these people is you come in and you take over, and if there's people there that don't go along with it, that's because they're bad people, you need to get them out of there. Doesn't matter, they've been there 30 years and you just showed up. They're the toxic fans. You're bringing the light in and bringing all the good people in, and you need to get rid of these toxic people trying to guard that IP from them.
It's like gentrification. We're gonna get rid of all the people in the old neighborhood and replace them with the people
with the right kind of people.
With the right kind of people
who have the right kind of ideas, who happen to be my ideas. And if I don't like them, I'm just going to silence them and block them on Twitter, so I only hear my thoughts back to me. And then I totally am surprised, like, no, Stevenson, when people don't like it and you weren't unaware.
Yeah, so it has become, you know, this whole thing of gatekeeping has become a battering ram, because that's a new thing. Like, if people ask questions like, hey, you know, you want to come in and change everything, do you understand the history? Like, I mean, you brought up She-Ra, right? That was a prime example, because
they didn't understand the history. That was the point.
The whole marketing of She-Ra was, well, it's progressive, and we've got gay people working on it, and, you know, women in the animation, you know. And then if you look at the original show, it was like, well, no, actually, there were a lot of gay people, a lot of women working on that show. And why are you throwing shade at the voice actors, and why are you saying these things? Honestly
would have been, I was okay. I mean, I knew what we were going to get, so I saw who was on it. But I from the get-go, I didn't like things, and I said, but you're allowed to like it. And I got so much crap from these people. I was called a bad mother. All these assumptions. Well, you probably don't even let your kids watch Steven Universe because you're a bad mother. I'm like, my kids do watch Steven Universe. I don't understand what the problem is, because I don't like She-Ra, this new She-Ra outfit. At that point, we haven't even seen the show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, meanwhile, I'm saying you're allowed to like it, you're allowed not to like it. They're saying you're only allowed to like what we say you can like it. If you don't, you're istophobic, whatever, or they harass you. They send you. We literally get threats from cartoon people all the time. And stuff like that. And then they're telling me that I'm the toxic person. I'm 100% for less toxicity in fandoms. But I think if you need to look at it fairly from the middle and be like, well, this behavior is toxic every bit as much as this behavior is toxic, and both need to be eliminated or changed in a more positive way.
It's interesting you mentioned, just real quick on She-Ra. There's a list on DeviantArt. I think it's kind of funny. It's a list of the toxic fandoms on certain media. I don't think English is their first language, because it just sounds kind of... But you go down the list here, and they give a reason for why all of these fandoms are bad, and they have She-Ra on here. Nostalgia purists irrationally hate reboot counterpart.
No, I watched it.
Somewhat SJW, feminist, and or propaganda. If you say She-Ra, especially the reboot counterpart, isn't great, you're going to have a bad time. Mm-hmm. We have had a bad time. We have had a really bad time. We've got, again, it's, you know, we don't get much pushback from people unless we talk about cartoons. And that is actually a younger fandom. So how it's kind of being spun, you know, by the people they're talking to in regards to this book and gatekeeping is it's just a bunch of like crusty old white guys trying to keep all the kids out of their hobby. And really, the fandoms that are the most toxic now are the younger fandoms.
Right. If you mention why they keep overusing prom, oh my gosh, you get sent messages, why do you hate gay people? Like, I'm sorry, I don't think saying they're overusing prom as a trope means you hate gay people. I have never have gotten more absolutely ridiculous toxic bullshit as I have when I don't like one of these new things, like, you know, She-Ra, or asking questions about prom, or one of these things that are mostly kids. When I say kids, I'm referring to anybody that's probably like 14 to 28, 30. Because it's for the children, they say, as they are like 30 years old.
one of the best articles out there, and again, talking about toxic fandoms, and I love how they bring up Star Wars and bring up these older fandoms, and it does seem to be the implication that like it's just a bunch of old men that are trying to keep the kids out of the fandom.
But there's as much toxicity in new things like Steven Universe. Actually,
K-pop.
I think sometimes there's more. Oh, K-pop.
K-pop.
Oh my gosh, some of those people are those stands are just insane, and they all. Not always, but mostly tend to run younger. So you're writing a book for kids about how to avoid toxic fandoms when you could argue that a lot of the toxicity in the fandoms come from the very kids you're targeting with this book.
So this is one of the, and I brought this article up several times. This is on geekdad.com. I had to find the archive version of it because it seems like the images got pulled down. But they're talking about the antis, which again, this pro and against anti-shippers, or you always hear about like
Shippers are so
the anti-Star Wars or the anti-Rayla or whatever, the antis, and they consider you an anti if you don't like their ship. And they talk about like...
They have ships for everything, guys. Literally everything.
And this is where it kind of bleeds over with K-pop and all this other stuff that, Twitter's being used. It was Tumblr before that, was LiveJournal before that, as a battleground to cancel people. So a lot of this, cancel culture stuff is actually coming out of, the shipping wars that started on like Tumblr and Twitter and over cartoon shows and K-pop, and now it's bleeding over into everything else. Again, these are younger fandoms. They're not just a bunch of old dudes telling you,
right.
You don't play Dungeons and Dragons right.
So a kid's guide to fandom is just kind of like, a ridiculous idea because it's a lot of the kids that are quote unquote, like I said, kids are people who think they're children and act like children that are causing a lot of the issues. And of course, when you're like looking for affirmation, if you see everybody else around you that are accepting you acting the same way, you think that's how you're supposed to act. And parents aren't actually out there doing their job, making sure their kids aren't little shits on the internet because they basically let the internet be their babysitter and don't pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, they're...
if my kids, I can't say their name, Boo or Trisket acted the way I see these kids act, oh my gosh, they would be in deep, deep, deep trouble.
And it is, the cartoon fans are some of the worst. I mean, they really are pretty atrocious. And look, the vast majority, in any fandom, 98% of fans in any fandom are pretty cool. And even if they don't like something, they're not going to send you death threats over it. They're not going to harass you over it.
Ageism thing and the fact that it's that generational things too, because people that are older come from a different time where you didn't have the internet and you didn't have, or you did, it wasn't like it is now. And you understood people can disagree with you and it was okay. And you'd find other things to agree upon and understand that, hey, we agree to disagree. But the more recent generations is such that, you're out there, you have to be activists. You go on Twitter and Twitter lets you say whatever you want. And because before you had to say it to their face. Yeah. Well, now you can go on Twitter and say whatever the hell you want and talk smack. And then the thing we always hear is, well, you can't get mad at me because I'm just a kid. And it's like, I guess they'll get mad at you. I guess they'll call you out if you're a kid. Doesn't matter if you're, I'm a mom and a teacher. This is like, I got paid to do that.
You got paid.
I'm like, if you're full of crap and you're wrong, I'm more than allowed to tell you you're wrong. The fact that their parents aren't telling them they're wrong is the bigger problem here.
Yeah, but this is really where I think, look, this is just kind of weird because they're making it out like the old school fans are the ones that are having the problems. And what happened with the Star Wars especially is, again, my point of view, we started getting, the Raylos infecting the Star Wars fandom, and then, they were baiting the old school fans, and it became so to look at this from one side and just be like, it's a bunch of old fans trying to keep new fans out. There's more to it than that. There's a lot of taunting. Again, She-Ra, we had the voice actors out there throwing shade at people who worked on the original Filmation show, and or ignoring their contributions.
Or saying that they didn't do anything and that thank God they came along to finally break the glass ceilings that have been broken years ago.
Yeah, right.
Belittling other people to elevate yourself has never worked. And that seems to be another trend we're seeing in the last few years in movies and in fandoms.
Yeah, well, here. Okay, so this is Mackenzie McDade. Again, don't contact any of these people. This is an NPR.
I don't think they could handle it.
I don't think they could handle it because they're going to say that we're sending a hate mob their way. But they're in this public article.
Echo chamber. They only can listen to what they want to hear.
Talking about how she is a diversity and inclusion consultant for Buffy and She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
Well, she was for Noelle Stevenson said, well, she must not did too good of a job when she made the joke about Bo and his brothers that got her canceled on the internet.
The first thing she starts with, whether kids or adults, is do not passively consume media. She explains that people should think critically about what's... Wait, whoa.
People aren't watching shows to think critically.
But I'm like, beyond that.
Wait, what?
Beyond that, if you criticize it, they call you out for criticizing
But beyond that, if it's entertainment, do not watch shows to be entertained. You must watch shows to criticize and analyze every little part about it, so that you can go on the internet and be an activist. But you're only allowed to criticize if you're on one side.
Be aware of problems either in the fictional world or how creators and stars behave, and then decide to enjoy the work anyway, if that's what they want. So basically, look at the show, look at who's making the show.
No, look at who's making the show first.
Yes.
And then decide if you want to like it or not.
What? So basically, as a diversity and inclusion consultant on shows, it's like you decide whether or not the creator is worth listening to or whether or not they should be canceled.
So you listen to their politics first, then decide to want to watch a show. Instead of what that has worked for centuries and books and everything else, is read the work, watch the work, and then decide if you like the work. And then you might find out that the person that created it might not be everything you thought they should be, but you still can be a fan of the work. They're telling you to be a fan of the creator, not the work.
Isn't that gatekeeping?
Yeah, it is kind of.
Like you're basically filtering
So they're
out.
indoctrinating children to take their side and continue up their fight for the quote unquote fandom fight.
Oh, it gets better. Okay. It gets better. A good example, she says, as the diversity and inclusion consultant for many TV shows, is to bring up Rey and Kylo Ren. Oh, she's actually making fun of Reylos. Look at this. If we look at how Kylo and Rey interact, is that a way you would actually want to interact with someone and date them?
No, and people brought that up. People brought that many times. They said that's a very toxic relationship. Same with She-Ra and Adora and Catra. And oh my God, the shippers just rip you to pieces.
Wait. She was a diversity and inclusion consultant on She-Ra. Mm-hmm. And it's
the exact same thing as Kylo Ren and Rey.
It's problematic that Kylo is a genocidal maniac.
It's not problematic if it's two women because
okay.
The lesbian card trumps the terrible shitty person. Terrible shitty person, toxic relationship card. We need a point system for this. It should be a tabletop game or like this plus this points equals this and it cancels this out.
Catra was a truly horrible person. Horrible person. Should have went to jail or died or something. But she got to make out with Adora at the end.
Oh, and then their kiss saves the world.
Their kiss saves the world.
So toxic relationships are only toxic if it's not part of your ship or if
Don't watch it and just think, oh, this is just entertainment. Because we have to criticize everything. Because popular culture shapes our culture, whether we want to admit it or not. That actually is true.
What popular culture? Because all I'm seeing, for the most part, especially things they're bringing up, most of it's just rehashes of things that happened when I was a kid in the 80s. And it was a lot of pop culture comes from things in the 80s. And that was a completely different time then. This doesn't even apply to that.
This diversity consultant says fans can also look to the creators or people involved in the movie or TV show or book series to get a sense of how they interact with fans. What the best creators do, they create a sandbox, they build a couple of castles, and they let it go, and they let people play and have fun. Basically, just go do your OC stuff, whatever. Well, until the studio comes along and sues you.
No, that's what it's basically. They let you take their characters and write and do and monetize and make stories about whatever you want. George Lucas did that, and then Disney canceled it.
I know, right?
Are they is George Lucas still good, or is he bad now? It depends on who you ask.
Fandom is an identity you choose for yourself. This is, look, I am getting really tired of it being portrayed that it's old school fans solely that are the problem.
Right. There's bad people. The toxicity is a small percentage of fandoms, but this whole idea that only the old school people are keeping everybody out is not true. And maybe they wouldn't be so, worried about new people coming in if it wasn't the fact they keep taking everything that was there and repurposing it, changing it, and new people coming in are telling people that they don't like it. It's because they're bad people, not because maybe they just like the old better, which is okay. And that's a valid point. Maybe you're an old fan that you like the new show better. Again, also a valid point. I'm just tired of people being told they have to like what they say that Twitter says they have to like, or we're going to cancel them. Here's the book real quick. I wanted to point out though, here's what it says. Here's what it's about. Okay. Help young fans get in touch with their inner geeks. Well, you're not supposed to touch young fans, but that's another story.
Don't touch
With the
it.
ultimate guidebook for creating, sharing, and enjoying the world of fandom.
You need a guidebook for that?
They're going to tell young fans how to touch their inner geek to enjoy the world of fandom.
Why do you need a guidebook to learn how to be a fan?
Because they need to sell books. Being a fan is a big deal. Whether it's comics, video games, podcasts, cosplay, books, films, or something else. There are so many ways to share and celebrate with the things that you love. I'll refrain from jokes. So it's high time for a guide to help young fans navigate. No one asked for this. A world of fandom and its many flourishing communities. I'm sure that they vetted. From fan works to cosplay, gaming, podcasting, and more. Filled with history, trivia, tips, and advice to get started, which isn't a bad thing.
Oh.
And insight from creators and artists from across pop culture and specializing in a wide variety of mediums. A Kid's Guide to Fandom is a perfect geeky primer. Well, is it though? For young fans. I think I'm the better geeky primer. Organized by type of fandom medium, each chapter offers a brief introduction, facts, history sidebars. I gotta fact check.
We have to get this book.
And easy to digest information on how to. And the first thing is create fanfic or fan art.
What?
I already know where this is going. Design and create a cosplay.
Oh, this is so
Start a podcast. Design and create games, video games, tabletop, and other role-playing games. Find and create supportive communities. You mean the ones that you go into and tell everybody else to leave? Find and attend conventions.
Page 69. Stay the hell away from Clownfish TV.
Probably. Interviews with popular creatives like Alan Gratz.
Who?
Aaron Leffler. Okay, Jen Bartel.
I've heard of Jen Bartel.
Daniel Jose Older, Rose Evelith, Kat Kruger, a couple of these I know. Jordan, Danae Ellis, and Liz Crowder, and more. I'm going to have to buy this book, guys.
We're going to have to buy this.
And, we might get it, and it might be fair. And if it is, we will completely tell you that it is. If we get the book and the history is accurate, and they're not presenting it in a way that I'm afraid they're presenting it, I will come on here and tell you that's what it is. We'll review the book, we'll talk about it, and we'll let you know. But I have a feeling it's going to go exactly the way we think it's going to go.
Why do we need a guidebook to be a fan? There are no rules to being a fan. But here, let me sell you a rule book.
I know, right? There's no rules. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. But here are the rules. We'll get this book. We will buy the book, and we will take a look at it because we can get the trade paperback or an ebook version.
We'll get the trade paperback,
and then we'll go through it.
Story time,
and we'll be fair.
We'll be fair.
If it turns out that it is a legitimate way to try to, tell kids how to navigate and what to watch for, and it plays it in a fair way.
Yeah.
Taking this is toxic and this is toxic, then we'll say so. But if it's going to come at it the way we think it's going to come at it.
You don't want to go to YouTube because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And Clownfish TV
or actual history that we don't want you to know about.
All right, Yahtzees. They just hate everything. Don't watch their channel. You're going to be indoctrinated.
To what? Indoctrinated to what?
To their side, not our side.
I know, but indoctrinated to what? What is our side? That we want to see people not be so toxic and shitty, and we want to see good things that are new. Wow, that's terrible.
we're old and we're cranky.
We're not that old.
Get off our lawn.
So, real quick, I wanted to tell you guys something. It's not related, but it is because we're talking about fandoms. I'm a Sailor Moon fan.
Yeah.
And I'm a dork, but I'm not a toxic Sailor Moon fan. But I wanted to play for you my ringtone. This is what happens when let me turn my shirt, make sure it's on. This is what happens when Kneon calls my phone. He's gonna call my phone right now. Sometime. Wait. Actually, it was Squid King. Literally made me the ringtone for my phone. Star General Uterus. So you should see the looks I get in the store when my phone starts ringing and it starts going Star General Uterus. So I just thought it was funny. He took the sound bite and made it into a ringtone for me to be nice and help me out.
Because he's a helpful boy.
He is. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I made a joke about liking jelly beans and you recorded it and you were going to make it your ringtone. So when you call me, it's Star General Uterus, but when I call you, it's, I really like jelly beans.
I really like jelly beans. I really like jelly beans. Hey, it's my wife. I really like jelly beans. What's wrong with her? I really like jelly beans.
It's like, well,
You like jelly beans? I like them. I like the red ones.
I like the cinnamon ones, but it's just, yeah. Anyway, unrelated. We thought we should end this with a laugh.
Like some spicy. So there we go, guys. You apparently need a guide to being a fan.
Or your kids need a guide.
Your kids need a guide.
How about if you're a parent, you just, talk to your kids about bad behaviors to look out for in fandoms on both sides, and that it's okay to love what you love. It's not okay to demand everybody else loves everything you love, and that sometimes you can find common ground in the middle and still find things that you agree upon, that there's no reason to push anybody out or hate on for not 100% liking or thinking your way only your way.
There we go. We're going to wrap it up?
Yes.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.